Okay, Mom's telling stories, and we're sitting here on her porch in Boone's Creek. Is that right?
That's right.
Or some would say it's Rockingham. Others might say Gray, Tennessee.
Or Oak Grove.
Or Oak Grove.
Oak Grove communities right here too. Yeah.
Or if you know anything about the Tri-Cities, Johnson City, Kingsport, and Bristol, you're almost in the middle of them, aren't you?
I would say so, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, pretty much the middle of the Tri-Cities.
But I wanted to talk to you about what it was like growing up in Appalachia, here in these Appalachian mountains. Can we do that for a minute?
Yeah.
So I wrote down a few questions here on my phone.
Okay.
But the easiest ones, I guess, to start out with would be like, where did you grow up?
Well, I was born in a little place called Watauga between Elizabethton and Johnson City in Carter County. But when I was 7 years old, we moved to Johnson City on Oakland Avenue, and I spent the rest of my growing up time there. In Princeton, around Princeton.
Okay.
Yeah, we went to the Princeton Presbyterian Church there. That's where I got married later on. And then I became a Boone's Creeker.
Boone's Creeker.
Because that's who I married.
Okay. You married Boone's Creek?
Well, you may as well say that. There was no other place but Boone's Creek, according to them.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Dad's family was here in Boone's Creek, Oak Grove community, right?
Yes.
And real quick about Dad, he had 14 brothers and sisters. So
right.
A really big family.
Yes.
But you know, I was with Mom somewhere the other day, and I quoted her as being 87, and she straightened me out on that real quick, didn't you?
I did.
Because you're 86.
Very much 86.
Sometimes I do that just to test her a little bit, you know, and see. So what year were you born?
1935.
So you've seen a lot of changes.
Oh, definitely.
In this country and community, I guess, and so much, right?
Everything.
Yeah.
I remember television coming in.
Oh, really?
Well, right around about that time, you know, we were one of the first families, I guess, over in Johnson City on Oakland to have a TV.
Wow.
Did you not know that?
I didn't know that.
We were among the very few people that had TVs at that time.
And how many channels?
Gosh, I don't know.
Black and white.
Black and white, and the screen is about like this.
Just real small.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you tell us about your family? Let's start with Mama, your mom, and Papa, Dad.
Okay, I'll start with Dad.
Okay.
Dad was born in the little village of Watauga, and pretty much all of his relatives lived there, and all of them, I guess. And how he met Mom, she was born in Jonesboro, Tennessee, and she then moved to Watauga Avenue in Johnson City. Well, it so happened that a couple of Daddy's sisters also worked there.
Okay.
And so that was how they came to meet.
You know, I never got to meet Papa. He died at an early age, Dad.
I was 16 when he died.
Yeah.
He was 47. So happened, now I need to tell you that Daddy worked for everybody, even up and above his real job. He wired houses, he did everything for everybody. And
so anytime somebody needed something done,
he would do it. And also, he was a singer. He had his quartet.
Okay, so, wow, it's starting to rain here. Y'all can you hear that through the camera? But you may have to speak up a little bit now. So, Papa, how did Papa pass away?
He had a second heart attack while he was singing in a church. And he passed away outside their house on a cot that before the rescue squad could get there.
So was it another heart attack?
Yes, it was the second heart attack, and that, you know.
Okay, so backing up a little bit, how would you describe your childhood and growing up?
Well, I can say this first and foremost. I grew up in a Christian home. my dad and my mother both were good Christians, and I cannot remember not being in church. Honestly, I cannot remember a time when we didn't go to church on Sundays and took part in everything. And so that was the most important thing. We were also a happy family. We had, we were always together, you know, and we did things together. And I can remember going out in the woods and finding a Christmas tree. And they were always cedar, you know.
Yeah.
And Mom was a wonderful cook. She always cooked good meals for us.
Well, what was your favorite meal growing up?
Oh, you know, that's hard. We had lots of food, fruit
Okay,
and
well,
vegetables.
let's do this then. What was an average meal like?
Well, it depended, you know. On Sundays, I remember we always had roast with potatoes and things like that, and always sweets. She was a baker, I mean.
Chicken?
Well, we had chicken, and I can remember Mom going out and wringing the neck of a chicken. I couldn't hardly, that's what they did back then,
Yeah.
you know, and then cooking it.
So you remember her doing that?
And for breakfast, I never liked breakfast, but she always had like cream of wheat or oatmeal or something like that for us to eat, you know, and I never did want to eat it, and I can remember it because I didn't want to eat that early. And my daddy would say, now, Shug, that's what he called me. Shug. He always called me Shug.
Should.
And he'd say, now, you have to eat a little bite before you get on the school bus. So I'd take a bite or two, you know.
Yeah.
But she always had good meals for us. And the seamstress, she made dresses for all of us.
I remember her making stuff.
She
And
made them
quilts.
out of...
She made quilts too, didn't she?
Oh, yeah, she did that. But all the girls, and she made all of our clothes. Well, even the boys. And I've seen pictures of back then. You didn't buy boys' clothes or anything when they were really young. They made them what they called aprons, and it looked really like a dress. Like I'm saying, when they're like 2 or 3 years old, you know. So, yeah, Mom was very, very good mom. She took care of the family. Dad had garden and killed pigs, and we had all kinds of meats and things, you know, to eat.
Did neighbors kind of share stuff back then,
Yeah.
food-wise?
Oh, yeah, yeah. On Sundays especially, after church, we never knew who was going to come home and eat with us.
Really?
Family.
Now I know y'all had an inside toilet, right?
We did after we moved into the plant house.
So you got to use the outhouse some growing up.
Well, I don't remember because I was too young before. So when our house burned.
Now, Dad, I can still remember the outhouse where Daddy grew up. They didn't have indoor toilet for a long time.
That's right.
How old would you say Dad was when they finally got?
Oh, he was grown probably.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
You get remember with
15
15 children.
Yeah, your dad's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my yeah.
You're not.
Papa and Mama on the Friday side is what we're talking about. I remember Dad saying that it was a long time before he ever got any underwear. He just wear overalls when he was just a little boy.
Yeah.
It's for a long time.
Yeah, they were very poor. His dad was a farmer, and he sold like watermelons and cantaloupes, and he'd take, I think, I wasn't in the family then, but they said he would go to Johnson City, take a wagon, I guess. I don't know how he got there, and sell things. And but yeah, they absolutely had enough to eat, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else growing up in Appalachia up through your younger years that you would want to share?
Well, it's a lot of different than now.
Yeah. Well, what were the toys like when you were a kid?
Oh, toys at Christmas. We didn't get a lot of toys, but I always got a doll. My mom would start early on when they'd go to the grocery store every week. She'd buy candies and treats, and she'd put them on the back porch in a buffet or something and locked it up. But if we were good or for a treat, even before Christmas, she'd let us have some candy. She'd get it out. But uh, then Dad would buy, oranges and apples, and we'd go out in the woods and get the tree and, decorate it. Now, my older siblings, they had lots of friends. I was, younger than them, much younger, and they'd have all their friends come in all the time, and they'd make candy, and they wouldn't let me come in there in the room.
When they made the candy?
Well, no, but when they were in a room talking and going
Okay.
on, yeah, they'd give me some of the candy. But they didn't want me coming in there because I was just a little nuisance,
Oh, what was your favorite? What was your favorite candy?
Seafoam.
Seafoam.
Yeah.
Tell us about seafoam.
Well, you make a syrup
Okay.
and then it's been so long since I've made it. I used to make the candies and chocolate, and I'd make a fondant, and then I'd divide it into peppermint.
Well, I interrupted you. You were talking about the seafoam candy.
Oh, seafoam candy. Well, egg whites. You would beat the egg whites, as best I can remember. Then you'd make this syrup, and then you'd pour it into the egg whites and beat it. As you did that, then you would drop it out, and it was a light texture.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was good. It has brown sugar in it and all that stuff.
So good memories.
And Mama, she always made, talking about breakfast and things, she always made her own syrup for our pancakes and things for breakfast. She made her syrup. I don't know how, well, I do know, but I can't remember now how she did it, but she'd have that, and she did. And then sometimes they would buy the K-Row in a bucket. Used to have it in a big bucket, gallon. And
A bucket of K-Row.
yeah, syrup.
Okay, so tell us about school. What were the school's classrooms like, and teachers, things like that, growing up?
Well, from my memory, I always had good experiences at school.
Never got in trouble?
Well, I got in trouble.
I never got in trouble in school.
No, you didn't. That's a whole nother story.
Okay.
But since you asked, when I was in the first grade, we had to go to the outhouses but we didn't get out for snow. So I can remember in first grade, we went out. The teacher, they take us out to the bathrooms.
Yeah.
And something we did, we got to playing around in the snow, and she was trying to get us back in, and she spanked every one of us when we got in there. Yeah. And in the fifth grade,
You couldn't do that today.
no. In the fifth grade, I was going to another school, and that's when they started spanking in the hands like that.
With a ruler?
Yes. Well, I can't even remember what it was that I got that for, but it was something I cannot remember. But they spanked me in the hand.
Yeah. But tell us about high school. What was it like?
High school,
You met your sweetheart there, didn't you?
that's exactly right. I begged my dad to let me go to that school because the school bus came, although I was going to the city schools at that time. Junior high, it was awful. It was awful. In Johnson City.
Yeah.
I hated it. But I went there the 7th and 8th grade. So Daddy let me go to Boogs Creek out in the country here. And when I was a freshman. And from there on, it was great,
Yeah.
I got in to some bad situations there at first. It's my most embarrassing moment
Right.
while in school, but I'm not going to tell it.
Oh, you don't have to tell that.
I'm not going to tell it.
So you met Dad there, fell in love.
Yeah, I met him. I was a cheerleader. He played ball and every kind of ball, and he was very good at all of it.
Mm-hmm.
All the girls liked him, but I didn't pay attention to him,
So how did he win you over? What did he do?
Well, he just asked me one time to go out, and I said, "Oh, no, I can't do that," because I was going to run for the Burley Bowl thing, and I had to be at a meeting.
Burley Bowl, did y'all get that?
Yeah, Burley Bowl Festival.
Does it have to do with tobacco?
Oh, yeah. It had everything to do with tobacco.
You got married, and
No, well, yeah, I got out of school, and I went to work at Eastman.
And then Daddy was drafted into the Army.
Yes, in 19. Well, we got married in 1954.
Okay.
56.
56.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up going to Panama Canal.
Yes.
And he was a military policeman.
Exactly.
Okay, so from Panama, you came back home. Daddy got out of the Army and settled down here in Boones Creek and decided to start a family. And you had my brother Mark, who was 3 years older than me. And I don't think Mark's ever been on video. We need to get him on here sometime.
Yes, you do. It should, yeah.
Then I came along 3 years later, and then, was it 12 or 13 years, my sister?
12 years later, she came along.
I really did enjoy growing up here in Boones Creek, and so many memories. And, you know, I think y'all would always take us different places, but now some of the most important memories is when you would take us to the Smoky Mountains.
Yeah, right.
And
We
Gatlinburg.
did.
And
We did.
camping.
Camping. We camped. And we did all of that. What was the name of that place? Crazy Horse, wasn't it? That we.
In Gatlinburg?
Well, it was between Gatlinburg and
Yeah,
Cosby.
it was Crazy Horse then, and now
Oh.
I think it's called Adventure Bound
Okay.
Campground. But we loved it. So many memories there. I love looking back through the pictures growing up here in East Tennessee, and just a great time. So our whole family's definitely thankful for you and Dad. And I guess we talk a little bit about Dad passing away. That was 12 years ago now.
Right. 12 years this past June.
Yeah. Daddy got sick and slowly progressed, getting worse and worse. But you've done good the last 12 years. And
Been hard.
Yeah.
Still is. You never get used to it. I mean, you just have to adjust.
Yeah, well, you know what? There's a lot of our viewers that tell us about the fact that they've lost their significant other, their spouse, and how difficult it was for them. And so they understand, many of them. So how many years were y'all married?
We were married 55 years at his time of death.
Okay.
Lady asked me that today.
Yeah.
Much and how long.
And a lot of y'all know that I've been a pastor really my whole life. And someone asked me one time about Dad's funeral if I was going to speak or preach. And I said, my dad, he said, he's not only my son, but he's my pastor. And he expected me to preach at his funeral. And that was the hardest funeral I've ever had to conduct. Well, somebody has showed up, and we're gonna bring her in. Come here.
Ta-da!
We have been sitting here. Can you get in there?
Yes.
And talking about growing up in Appalachia. Mom has.
Yeah. So I bet she said some interesting things.
Well, she's full of good stories, though, aren't you, Mom?
I am.
Yeah. Well, we've had a good time, and so Karen wanted to jump in here and say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
So I guess that's going to do it, Mom. Thank you. I know many of our folks will really enjoy this, hearing about what it's like growing up here in Appalachia.
And say it was a happy, happy time.
Happy, happy time.
Happy, happy time.
All right, well, that's going to do it. So until next time, we are Fridays.
Forever.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.